This is how Huawei shocked America with a smartphone. How did one smartphone shake up an entire business and send shockwaves across the United States? Huawei just released a new device that is making waves in the tech world, pushing the competition and starting heated arguments. What's so revolutionary about this phone that everyone is talking about it, from tech fans to government officials? Watch this video to learn how Huawei did this amazing thing and what it means for the future of smartphones in the US. In the year 2020, the United States of America imposed a severe embargo on Huawei in order to cut off its supply of high-end semiconductors. Many people anticipated that this action would be unproductive on the part of Washington. Indeed, it has the potential to restrict Huawei's technological supremacy. However, more than that, it would force the Chinese telecoms giant to accelerate the development of its chips. Now that it has come to light, that was the exact event that took place. Over the years, Huawei has discovered a method to make revenue in areas other than its smartphone business, despite suffering from a slowdown. In the end, it demonstrated to the entire world that acquiring technology from the United States could be a want for China, but it was most certainly not a need for the superpower. To say that Huawei's most recent smartphone, the Mate 60 Pro, caused a commotion in China would be an unqualified understatement. The Mate 60 Pro was introduced in a very stealthy manner by Huawei last week. As a result of Huawei, the entire world came to a temporary halt. Many, particularly policymakers in the United States, were unable to comprehend the technical breakthrough. While users were raving about how fast the network speed of the Mate 60 Pro was, experts were amazed at how a firm that was restricted by multiple sanctions that had prevented it from participating in the global 5G race could build something that was comparable to a conventional 5G smartphone. Tech Insights did a breakdown of the handset for Bloomberg News, which revealed that the Mate 60 Pro was powered by a new Kirin 9000's chip that was manufactured in China by Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corp. (SMIC). This was the beginning of all that happened. The processor was the first to utilize SMIC's most advanced 7nm technology, which indicated that Huawei had the technology to produce such a chip. This was the case despite the fact that the United States was making extensive attempts to block China's access to foreign semiconductor technology. In particular, it represents a made-in-China design and manufacturing milestone for the most advanced Chinese foundry, as stated by Tech Insights. Furthermore, it was manufactured in China. On top of that, Huawei introduced the Mate 60 Pro 3 years after the Mate 40 series, which was the most recent model of a 5G smartphone that the company had released. On the other hand, Huawei has not yet made a public declaration that it is a smartphone that is capable of 5G connectivity. The struggling Chinese technology giant has simply stated that the Mate 60 Pro is the most powerful Mate model ever. This is the only message that the company has provided. When compared to speaking loudly, it is possible that having a strong smartphone and speaking in a soft voice can sometimes be more beneficial. Tech Insights asserted that SMIC successfully built the Kirin 9000s by utilizing its 7nm process, which is also known as the M+2 node. This information was provided by Tech Insights. The fact that this occurred contributed to the spread of rumors that the chipmaker had been providing clandestine assistance to Huawei in order to circumvent the severe technological penalties imposed by the United States. As a point of reference, SMIC was listed on the United States Entity List in December of 2020, whilst Huawei was the first company to be included on that trade blacklist for the first time in May of this year. The experts believe that this is the reason why they anticipate that the breakthrough in the construction of a new 5G processor in mainland China would not only prompt another round of investigation by the government of the United States, but it will also exacerbate the technology war that is taking place between the United States and China. In an interview that took place not too long ago, Edison Lee, an equities analyst at Jefferies, noted that it has the potential to spark a more extensive discussion in the United States over the level of effectiveness that sanctions have. On the other hand, when one takes into consideration the fact that various experts, including semiconductor players based in the United States, such as Qualcomm and Nvidia, have called for fewer penalties, the breakthrough did not come as much of a surprise as one may have expected. This is owing to the fact that the trade restrictions imposed by the United States government have only served to bolster China's desire to achieve technical self-sufficiency, while simultaneously causing harm to the business interests of enterprises based in the United States. What does the United States of America have to say about Huawei and its achievement of 5G? To begin, the laws that are currently in place call for any company that wants to supply Huawei with technology from the United States, which is present throughout SMIC's activities, to first gain consent from the government in Washington. This is a requirement that is imposed by the rules that are currently in place. Since it is not clear whether SMIC possesses a license to sell Huawei products in the United States, legislators in the United States believe that the major chipmaker in China ought to be subjected to an investigation. In light of the fact that SMIC has provided components to Huawei, the United States of America believes that the company has breached U.S. sanctions. During a meeting that took place on Wednesday at the United States Embassy in The Hague, Representative Michael McCall of the United States of America declared that it sure looks like it did violate the sanctions. Attempting to acquire our intellectual property is something that SMIC is still making at this time. On the other hand, Representative Mike Gallagher, who is the chairman of the House Select Committee on Competition with China, makes the statement that it is high time to end all U.S. technology exports to both Huawei and SMIC, to make it clear that any firm that flouts U.S. law and undermines our national security will be cut off from our technology. Gallagher is a member of the House Select Committee on Competition with China. Investigations are currently being conducted by the government of the United States on the components that make up the Central Processing Unit, CPU, that is utilized in Huawei's new 5G smartphone, the Mate 60 Pro. In order for American corporations to be able to sell technology to Chinese businesses during the first quarter of the previous year, the Bureau of Industry and Security, BIS, gave licenses totaling a staggering $23 billion to American corporations. The politicians in the United States emphasized that this is sufficient evidence for some individuals to conclude that the United States may have been too mild in their treatment of the situation. After a breakdown carried out by Tech Insights revealed that Huawei's Mate 60 Pro utilized LPDDR5 and NAND flash memory manufactured by SK Hynix, the Republic of South Korea SK Hynix initiated an investigation into the matter. It has been reported by Tech Insights that Hynix's hardware is an isolated instance of materials bought from overseas. This is the case despite the fact that Chinese suppliers sell virtually all of the components for the handset. It is possible that Huawei's Mate 60 Pro was a defiance of U.S. sanctions. Following the disclosure of such information, SK Hynix Incorporated reportedly began an investigation into the use of its chips in Huawei's most current mobile device, according to a report that was published by Bloomberg. Hynix, which has its headquarters in Aachen, no longer does business with Huawei since the introduction of the U.S. restrictions against the company, and regarding the issue, started an investigation to find out more details. A representative for the company said in a statement that was provided to Bloomberg News. The statement can be found here. It is SK Hynix's policy to strictly adhere to the export restrictions that have been imposed by the government of the United States. There is a possibility that the Chinese technology giant was drawing from a stockpile of components that it had accumulated as far back as 2020, before the full set of trade restrictions that the United States imposed on it. Although it is still unknown how Huawei may have obtained the memory chips from Hynix, which manufactures the majority of its semiconductors at plants in China, there is a possibility that the Chinese technology giant was drawing from this stockpile. Don't miss a beat. Subscribe now to stay updated on the latest tech battles, groundbreaking innovations, and all the stories shaping our digital world. Be the first to know what's next.